Greetings everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, Season 2.
Yep, Frieren, Season 2, Episode 4. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back from our Anime Night in the dojo. And well, last time we had Tourist Trap, and then some Demon Slaying. Yeah? Nothing wrong with that? I have seen a lot of stuff come out this week about Frieren and whatnot, how they've talked about how, like, all the demons have, like, you know, are, like, cute, petite women. And it's just like, well, yeah, that's usually what demons do to disguise themselves, so they're less, you know, they're more unassuming and approachable, kind of like what we saw last time. Yeah. So that's how they capture their prey.
Yeah, once again, there's the whole freaking bullshit going on with the people trying to insert racism that doesn't actually exist by trying to, like, make the allegories of, like, claiming basically that, like, the demons are just like a freaking repressed minority and stuff like that. That's what they actually represent, and that, like, Frieren is just a racist against demons and stuff like that. But no, the whole thing is that the demons are literally just predators. They're not even freaking fully, it's not sentient, they're sentient, is the freaking term. They don't have, proper emotions. They're just predators, and all they do is imitate human emotions because it allows them to hunt humans better.
Right. Yeah, and we got more of that in, like, the Hero of the South backstory as well. Is just, you know, that's all they're concerned with doing. It's like Gage said, they're predators. That's what they do. They're more primal. That's their shtick. They're not civilized in that way.
They don't have the same level of not necessarily emotional complexity, but, like, I'm trying to blank on the freaking words. I should have actually took a second to actually think more on this before we went into this video, but freaking I'm kind of out of it. But in general, yeah, they're more akin to highly intelligent animals than another actual race.
Yeah. So that'll be a thing to talk about at some point as well, is some of the other stuff that's going on with just random meta stuff, but that's not for today, because we'll talk about it when that shows up in one of the episodes. But either way, we're moving on. Journey continues. That's about it. We'll just have to see where they go. I did see a pretty hilarious clip from one of the upcoming episodes, which will be fun to talk about. But that's not this episode, I'm sure, because I believe it was from the most recent sub-episode. So we're a couple episodes behind that at this point. But yeah, as it stands, it just has to continue to do what it's been doing, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But well, once again, I'm very surprised that Stark got away with going on a date with Frieren, and Fern didn't find out yet. So, you know, just saying. Well, there's a lot of madness that could occur in the slice of life side of this. So, you know.
Yeah, Stark went on a date with Frieren, and Fern didn't find out. Frieren didn't even find out.
Yeah, she didn't even find out. So we don't even know what's going on anymore. It's crazy. So either way, we're gonna push some buttons and get going here. And this time I'll actually push the button, unlike in the MF Ghost recording that we just did, and I didn't push the button. But you know, that is what it is. But people on Patreon will see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube will see you on the other side for the reaction, or the discussion and the review. So here goes something. Well, there you guys have it. Another episode's in the books. Mentioned at the end of the reaction there was in the episode where they go to, like, the Himmel flashback, and when they're looking for the cat and stuff like that, and, you know, how they've been doing the whole series with, like, Frieren, like, not necessarily her looking back on it, but, like, showing, like, how their relationship was like there, and like how Himmel was trying, that kind of thing. I legitimately thought, I was, yeah, that was a great episode, you know, no problems. You know, we got the date, you know, that was great. And then I looked up at our, you know, the timer, and I was like, we're 11 minutes into the episode. And that is one of the ways that you can tell that you have a good show, because when pacing is that good, you just kind of feel like, yeah, that was great. And then look up and go, we still got over half the episode to go. Well, alrighty then. You know what I mean? There are a lot of shows that would have just had this, and it would have taken up the whole episode, and it would have felt like they had gotten the exact same amount accomplished. And it didn't. It's not like it felt rushed either. And that's how you do pacing very well. It's like a masterclass in that. It's like, you know, you make something feel like it took longer when it didn't, and there are ways to do that. And this team obviously knows how to handle that. So this was a pretty impressive display of pacing and how to get like multiple skits into an episode while making them both feel like their own encapsulated episode. Very impressive. But as for the episode itself, I'm not sure Frieren is the person you want to ask about date fashion should wear. She's Frieren. I don't know how many times we have to go over this.
Or, you know, just fashion in general. She spent like hundreds of years basically just wearing a tablecloth.
Yeah, pretty much. So
the only reason why she's even semi presentable these days is because of the outfits Himmel bought her.
Right.
And then Fern is the one who has to actually do her hair up and stuff like that.
Yep. We got the grandma in the hot springs just being super enamored by the cuteness of her braids and whatnot. And vengeful braiding apparently is a thing. Why not? One way that you can get back at somebody. But you know, fairly classic date sequence. You know, just the everything you'd expect from something like this. We got pancakes in the afternoon. That was definitely a thing. I will say the food was massively proportioned in this. Those those meat buns. That was like, I don't even know what to compare that to. They were like the size of medicine balls. Are you kidding me? Look at that thing. It's huge. Well, maybe not a medicine ball. At least like a basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, that right there? Now that's a portion. Are you kidding me? That would have been good enough for me for like a week. I could have lived on that thing for a freaking week. That's like going out and buying a pizza solo, and it's just like, yeah, I could have pizza every night, no problem, whatever. It's those things. Now that's what I call serious portion. That was impressive. That was like that's like putting Soma from Food Wars to shame with his portions when he did stuff like that. So,
you know the whole rule of portioning is the smallest possible amount of food you can on the biggest plate you can.
Yeah, and that's plating. I hate it. It's like, oh man, but it was for the experience, right? It's like, I didn't come here for an experience, man. I came here to eat. But again, at the end of the day, I'm the kind of guy who just, I'd rather cook my own stuff as opposed to going out, because, you know, between everything that I know about how restaurants are run and how managers and owners don't want to put money back into the business for maintenance and upkeep, I don't know what's going on in your kitchen. I know what's going on in my kitchen. I don't know what's going on in your kitchen. You know what I mean? If I ran a restaurant, I would mandatory, you know, make sure the usual like closing cleanup that happens and stuff like that, obviously. But once a quarter, I would like full on steam clean everything. Like, you know, bring a specialist team and be like, hey, we're closed today for you know, the like just massive steam clean, just like get everything like back to brand new, because hygiene and stuff like that in kitchens is insanely important. And you see shows like you know, like Bar Rescue, stuff like that, where guys like John Taffer go and they go to bars and stuff, and you can't fake rot, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just for the reality. It's like, that is legitimate just mold and stuff like that has been like caked on. It's just like, no, that's not reality. That is reality. You know what I mean? So It's just that's why I'm always wary about, like, not that I dislike going out to eat and stuff like that. It's just not something I do a lot, but it's just like I have to be like very convinced that like this is a restaurant that has a good reputation and isn't going to, give me food poisoning or giardia or something.
Yeah, like
Food stall,
uh,
that's a completely different story. You can see it right there. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's. I was actually just recently having to talk with freaking Heron about stuff like this because he was trying to get his computer made and stuff like that. Pre-builts are kind of the same way. And, like, a lot of people very much insist on just making their own computers because you never freaking know what you're gonna get with a pre-built.
Yep.
Like, you'd think it's like at least a minimum freaking standard, but you still really never know based on whatever the frick whoever put your shit together that day felt like doing. Like, freaking my pre-built was largely without issue, and I initially looked it over and thought it was largely without issue. Until I started having my overheating issue like a year or so in, and then I started noticing things like the fact that my AIO's radiator was in upside down.
Yeah. I mean, the last couple of machines that I got, I just got them for my buy power, and they usually have like warranties and stuff like that, so you just like send it back, and I'm within their range of like, if I really wanted to, I could drive the damn thing down there if I really wanted to, and just took it to them, not dealt with shipping or anything, because then I know that it got there safely. You know what I mean? Not just, well, I'm taking it to FedEx or UPS and they're gonna send it back or whatever. What's gonna happen? It's just like, no, I'm close enough. I'll just like, I'll drive it down to you guys, and when it's done, just let me know and I'll come pick it up. I'm willing to spend like the $50 on gas. Really, it's cool. I don't need it in transit again. At the very least, let me take my hard drive out. You know what I mean? But either way, as for the rest of this, like, I'd say there was nothing really wrong with this date, and like with Stark admitting that he did like the prep thing with Frieren and stuff like that. Just Vern took that as like, oh, he actually cared enough to like put effort into this. You know what I mean? She didn't see it as like a bad thing at all. So,
that was the whole like Vern's whole thing was that she was just like, it wasn't a bad date, but that wasn't what I expected out of a date. And then that's when, like, yeah, Stark admits that it was because Frieren planned the date, not him.
Right. And keep in mind, he did say that he went with what Frieren suggested, not that they went on a practice date. Those are two completely different things.
Give it like 80 years, and Frieren will finally put together that she went on a date with Stark.
Yeah, it'll be like that. The Stark realization. There you go. But either way, this was like the classic sequence of like, the biggest thing in both their lives at this point is Frieren. So that's what they're going to be talking about most of the time. You know what I mean? It's not like in this day and age, like what they're doing, it's not like they're going to be talking about their hobbies and interests because they constantly see their hobbies and interests because of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? It's not like the typical like first date in the modern world where it's like, oh, tell me what you do with your free time. You like go hiking, golfing, skiing. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what they do. They know all the stuff that they do. It's their off time is this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's not like they just go home for the night and, Netflix and chill or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, they go home and paint some Warhammer minis or whatever. Whatever you do, you know what I mean? so like they're gonna show up at the club or something. So I think they kind of did a good job of like portraying how situations like this would be. Is like, well, what do they possibly have to talk about? Well, commonality is Frieren, so of course they're gonna end up talking about that. You know what I mean? So it's not like there's a myriad of topics for them to discuss in situations like this because of how they live. You know what I mean? So dates in these kind of situations would be drastically different from what we're used to in the modern age. So It's definitely kind of like an interesting, like, just split from our known reality of like, yeah, this is probably how it more or less was back in the day, because there's not really a whole lot to go on about. It's back then it was kind of just like, hey, I'm totally reliable. You should marry me. All right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there wasn't much dating in general in the Middle Ages. And when dating did exist, it was basically just more or less this: just okay, let's go for a walk around town, or if it, or the dating more commonly happened is like with nobility, and it's just like, oh well, I guess we're just gonna go to the ball together and see how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much. Or your marriage is arranged, whether you like it or not.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like in general, like dating as a thing was more of a thing with nobility.
Yeah. But either way, very, very solid sequence for what it was.
Generally speaking, dating requires you to have spare time, and not many people outside of the nobility had much spare time in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, you're constantly doing something to survive. You know what I mean? So, this was definitely a thing, and in their case, like being adventurers, their spare time is when they stop in a town to get supplies and whatnot. We got to see a lot of the just like random magic aspects in this as well. Like Frieren's suitcase. That was cool. I'm not sure if they went into that before now. I don't remember, because it's been a while since season 1. But
yeah, I think this is the first time we've actually like addressed the suitcase, but we do know she has methods of magical like storage and transportation. Like the whole thing is she has the bird that carries stuff off to like whatever like vaults.
Yeah,
somewhere, like that's where the word went.
Right. So either way,
which will probably come back as a thing eventually.
Yeah. And like I said, it was about this time where I was just like, yep, that's pretty much a solid episode, no problem. And as you guys can see, wasn't even halfway through the episode yet. So that's how you know you got a good thing going. We got some more combat in this that was very fluid. I got to make a Florida sinkhole joke. That was fun with this guy right here. But the northern lands are wrought with danger. Never look into the eyes of a basilisk, because then you end up like Stark did right there.
I mean, he got off relatively tame, seeing as in a lot of cases, basilisk's breath or sight will turn you to stone.
Yeah, that's usually what it is.
Not just paralyze you.
Yeah, not just paralyze you with the face. But there was a lot of teamwork in this episode that was just kind of like was what it was. We got the classic side quest, that kind of thing that I mentioned, and it kind of brings up like an interesting point I made, like the whole like kind of like comparison to like how people don't like leave their homes on in evacuation order, and this is kind of like to that extent in a way. But your home's your home, you know what I mean? And a lot of people can't just in this guy's case, like we live in a very dangerous location because of the monsters and stuff like that, but this is our homeland. We don't want to move. You know what I mean? Like there are certain parts of our world that are, for various reasons, not like politically or anything, but like for climate, back in the day, like just the flora and fauna and just like stuff like that. It was very harsh living environment.
And just look at Alaska.
Yeah, and people still live there because it's their homeland. That's where they want to be, regardless of how harsh of an environment, how hard it is to live there. People live in Siberia still, and they have lived there, and it's obviously easier now with modern stuff, but they still, you know what I mean? There's a lot of harsh places that people live still, and they would prefer to be there than anywhere else because that's what they know, and that's their choice, you know what I mean? But I'm sure they understand the consequences of what they're doing, and if they don't, then they're fools. If they accept the consequences and how dangerous it is, then it's one thing. But if they're just hand waving and say whatever, then that's where the problem lies. If you fully understand what you're signing up for and you're totally okay with it, then yeah, that's perfectly fine. But if you're just kind of just saying it's like, oh yeah, well we're doing this for this, that's where the problem lies. I believe at this point most of those people that choose to live in locations like that. They know what they're signing up for. If their kids want to up and leave or whatever, then that's their choice as well. But with some of the kids stick around, and that is what it is. But it's all about the choices you make in life, and it's just how it is. But either way, the Northern Lands are fraught with danger, various varieties. We got the monster with the armor and sword. They didn't really identify it as what kind of monster it was, just kind of a denizen of the forest here with, has picked up like human-like traits with like it has some armor, it has a weapon, that kind of thing, which it obviously probably pillaged from somewhere. You know what I mean? So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do with the creatures moving forward. He was capable of breaking through magical barriers and stuff like that. They had to use teamwork and blindsiding it to beat it at the end of the day. But again, speaking of stuff to sign up for, the Northern Lands were a harsh place, that from what Frieren said, and this is just step one. And a lot of people would be questioning, like, oh, well, Frieren should have just handled this herself. Byrne and Stark aren't going to learn if she just does everything for them. That's why she just didn't take care of it immediately. She has to let them fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, she could absolutely have just RKO'd this thing and they could have moved on with their day, but then they're not going to learn and improve.
Yeah, she's also not omnipotent. Like, she is extremely strong as a mage, but she still has all the weaknesses of a mage.
Yep. But,
she still has to be able to cast, and she still has to be able to hit the target.
Yep. But either way, we still have the classic, like Stark's legs giving out, that kind of thing. That's gonna just be part of his character, and has been part of his character. So either way, we got all like the backdrops and stuff like that, the backstories. Those were all solid. This is still a thing. So yeah. Another solid episode. I will say, going back to the thing about like when Fern was looking at the jewelry and stuff like that as well, just like kind of like the whole thing, that it was kind of like that whole like brief bit of jealousy of like, oh, well, that couple bought that. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
But yeah, we already know Fern is very materialistic, so like clearly she wanted, as part of their first date, to actually have some form of object to symbolize their first date.
Yeah. But just seeing like the hair clasp thing again just reminded me of that, so I wouldn't forget it. Just kind of like as an aside. But again, this episode was great across the board. The pacing was great. We got 2 different very solid skits, good action sequences. When the show does action, it's very fluid and great. So yeah, the journey continues. You know what I mean? And you just have to keep doing this, and we'll be happy. That's great. And I don't have to sit here and criticize something like I did at this time last year with a certain show that shall not be named. And I have to take one more dig at Guild Receptionist. I have to do it. The Guild Receptionists in Campfire Cooking had a better storyline than that show, and they barely had any screen time. Michaela, the other one, they all had more interesting storylines than that entire show.
Yeah, we're still gonna potentially see more of them.
Yeah.
As far as this stuff goes, though, yeah, like they're all 3 of them are very good at what they do. The problem is teamwork and versatility.
Yep.
Like Frieren is, well, she is, a mono mage. She doesn't really have, like, she lacks, like I said, her biggest weaknesses are just the fact that she is exclusively a mage.
Yeah.
But then you have, like, Stark. His big weakness really is he's easily scared and very reckless.
Yep.
And doesn't coordinate very well. Fern is a one-trick pony. She's extremely good at suddenly drawing a blank on the freaking basic offensive spell name.
Zoltark,
yeah.
Yeah.
She's incredibly good at that. And she is ridiculously fast for a mage. But as we pointed out multiple times now this season, fast for a mage is still slow compared to a warrior.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're doing.
Yep.
But she has no actual like versatility in a fight. She's just, I'm just going to spam Zoltron faster than the opponent can do anything about it. If that doesn't work, I don't really have anything else I can do.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how they touch on those weaknesses going forward and stuff like that, especially with where they're going and what they have to potentially deal with. But yes, in case anybody forgot, Frieren is a first-class mage, and she's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, just off of her, knowing how to spam Zoltron very well, she has become a first-class mage, which speaks a lot for her upper potential. And we did get that line from Frieren of like, if there's any mage she knows that's going to outmage her and be able to kill her eventually, it is Fern's upper potential.
Right. So, anyway, that's all I got for this one. Another solid episode. Bravo on the pacing. We got basically, it felt like 2 episodes in one. And that's exactly what you kind of want out of situations like this, is just this gets to feel, encapsulated stories and still connected. So, yeah. Anything else, Age?
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing for Fern in particular is like, once again, Frieren really hammered in the whole like mastering the basics as much as you can, fundamentals as much as you can. That's part of their initial training, but now that they're starting to get into harder stuff, she's going to have to start learning either how to. She's going to either have to start learning unconventional ways of using the basics or start learning more advanced things besides just the basics.
Yep. But I assume there's going to be more magic in the future based on not just the quality of life stuff that they're looking for, but like actual offensive and defensive capabilities, possibly buff spells, the atypical stuff. You know what I mean? So, anyway, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube beyond, however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo, Frieren Season 2, Episode 4. So, have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.